Come down, Father, come down. Whenever you come down, Father, come down, please. Come down, Father, please come down. In my heart, I know that you won't let your chosen people suffer. I know you'll never let us down. No.
Giving you guys time to share. That's Barry Salmon singing "Come Down, Father." I'm not. In case you don't know what song that "Come Down, Father." We need Father for come down. Hello. So go on rock until we start, yeah? Woo!
Oh, I see greed and I see selfishness. Every man is for himself. Only
like and share.
Father, cause they listen to no one else. No. Come down, Father, come down. Baby, come down, Father, come down, Lord. Talk to the hearts of those responsible. Let them know their actions are despicable. Remind them that it's you who wear the crown. Come down, Father, come down, yes. Baby, come down, Father, come down, oh, come down, Father, come down, yes. Come down, Father, come down, yes.
Yeah, we need him to come down. We need help. Hello, hello. Tonight is gonna be on fire. Blessings, woman of God.
That you can do these wrongs and get away. Woe unto you, and watch out for your day. I wish it never
and to you too.
The way I see this world running shouldn't have to be. Cause now everyone's
come on, make sure you share. Father, I know things are going wrong, yeah.
Wickeder than before. Really believe we could have run things, but it not look so anymore. No. Come down, Father.
Good night.
Down,
giving you guys a chance to share.
Down, Father. Come down, Father, come down, Father, come down, will you come down, Father, come down, Father, come down.
Good night, good night. Share, share, share. Giving you a few more minutes. Good evening, good evening.
Watching the time of the people are moving and memory to myself. We should never have to be the way I see this world running shouldn't have to be. Cause now every man's cup is very tight and overflowing. Father, I know things are going wrong, yeah. It's wickeder than before. It really checks that we could have run things, but it not look so anymore. No. Come down, Father, come down. Baby, come down, Father, come down. Whenever you come down, Father, come down, baby. Come down, Father, baby, come down. In my heart, I know that you won't let your chosen people suffer. I know you'll never let us down. No, no.
Good night, good night, good night. How are you all doing? Tonight, I believe, is what, part 3, part 4 of this discussion. We have Bishop Michael Thomas, Pastor Olivia Roberts, Canute Ellis, and Marlene Flynn. Hello, we're about to have a panel discussion on marriage, divorce, dating, courtship. What is all of that? What does all mean? A few of us on here have been divorced. We would have loved to stay married, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But we're looking at, last week we were talking about divorce, but this week we're going to be looking at the sort of the other side of it, things that we could have done differently, the lessons learned, what we would have done, dating, the dating process, the courtship, all of that. Some of us got married and not knowing the persons we're married to, because I believe that many times the problem starts before we go into the marriage with the problem. So once you go in it, you can't really fix it while you're in it. People have gone in with the idea that they can probably make it work. People will change. They can probably change individuals. Some people, some women, maybe men, I don't know, will get married to someone, and nice guy, but he's not saved, or nice woman, she's not saved. And then after you get married, you expect them to come over to your side, and then most of the time that does not work because you're in it already. Yeah. So we're looking at all of those different things. We have these some of these great men and women of God. Pastor Thomas has been on for a while. Canute has been on for a while. And these are gentlemen who came out and spoke their truth. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be playing a song right now by Mr. Canute Ellis. Don't run from the truth. If you run from the truth, it's just going to run after you. Can't get rid of it. Beautiful song. Beautiful song. Love this song. Love this song. Tonight we're going to be speaking some truth. Is that all right? Once I'm done playing this, I'm going to introduce you to the panel. This gentleman wrote, did an album called Therapy, dealing with his truth. Bishop, how are you doing? Long time no see. Love you, Bishop Fritz. Next time we need to have you on to get some of your wisdom. Hello. Because many times the problem starts before the marriage. Hello. So Father, tonight we commit this platform into your hands. Father God, we pray that whatever will be said and done tonight will honor your name, be a blessing to someone, even help someone to get through whatever they may be going through. We cover this platform under the blood, and Father, each individual that will be participating in this discussion, I pray that your blessings will be upon them. Father, lead and direct us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Bless you, Bishop. Love you too. So I'm going to bring them on while I play this music. One of our guests are still on her way, but I want to welcome Bishop Michael L. Thomas. Hey. Canute Ellis. Olivia Roberts. Pastor Olivia Roberts. Here they come. Hey. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Oh, we don't do the homework, you know. Got tonight. Pastor Bishop, Pastor, thank you so much for honoring this tonight. I'm a bit excited to learn from your wisdom, what you'll have to teach me tonight, and what I need to know before I get married again. I decree it in the name of Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Holy Ghost. I feel you, Canute. The Spirit of the Lord. Yes, sir. We declare it in Jesus' name. Ha! We shall have one. COVID or no COVID. Hello. We're going to find him. Bless the Lord. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good
The last
night.
time we discussed a lot of marital issues, and it is an ongoing discussion. But some of the comments we got, they wanted to more solution based, you know, comments and what as I was thinking about, I'm thinking, you know what, a lot of the things that happen in a marriage was carried into the marriage. You know, so I believe that's one of the number one things. So we're going to be looking at oh, thank you, Canute. I think the internet is acting up better. I did get the what do you call it, extenders, whatever that is. Yeah. So I have one plugged in right now. Yeah, and so so we're going to be looking at some of the things that really we take into the marriage, like what is courtship, what is dating, right? And versus some people call it dating. You gotta look around or check out and all of that before you get married, and that kind of leaves it all wide open to a lot of stuff. So Canute, you've been married before. Pastor Thomas, you've married before. I want you to open up with some of the things that you thought you could have done differently, or what would have been that thing that probably you did not see, or you didn't recognize, you didn't know because if you were younger. What would you say some of those things are? Pastor Olivia, she's never been divorced, so we're going to teach her tonight. Yeah. So so go ahead, Canute.
The other way around, she's teaching us.
Yes, sir.
To stay married, what, 35 years, right, Olivia?
Me just a troubler, me just a troubler. I know I go already. So yeah, go ahead, Canute. You go and start with you've been divorced. So, what are some of the things that, if you got whatever you guys want to start from, whatever the dating process, what is courtship, if someone to define that. So go ahead and sort of give us some insights on what are the things you've learned that you probably would have done differently had you known.
Waited.
That was quick. Okay.
Wish I'd waited and was brave or bold enough to say I'm not ready. I knew I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. But I was worried about what people was going to say, and people would say you waste them time and the money for come here, and because at the very time, this is my first marriage. At the very time I'm at the altar, I'm like, I'm making a mistake. How can I get to it?
Wow, I've heard that. That's scary.
And it was just horrible from there. From I said I do, it was just terrible from there on. So I wish I'd waited. I was bold enough to say, you know what, make we wait a little bit, and thing. Peer pressure played into that. Society, the church played into that, because it's almost like you have a timer once you're courting.
Right.
It's time for you to get married because it's better for you married than thing.
Yeah.
So is almost like you're kind of cheered on to hurry up and get this over with, and then you're on your own basically. Everybody will come eat off your cake and wine, all of them do them periodically, check up, but they're not giving you things like this. Now obviously this is several years ago.
Right.
It's a different time now. I think we talked about this on our last episode, where courting is not it's a different culture in the Caribbean. It's a different culture in the Caribbean society, where a woman, if she dates a lot of men, it's considered as she's loose. But a man can't always have enough woman and that kind of thing, or go out and thing, and so that's thing. But the stigma that's attached to dating and courtship is totally misunderstood, not even misconstrued, totally misunderstood, because it's like, if you go mall with this guy today, that's your husband. If you go a youth fellowship with him 2 Fridays in a row, that's it, for go with, and I think that's the biggest misconception, or biggest truth that needs to be told in the church, that it's okay to go on dates, whether we chaperone, and we spoke about that. So for me, I would want to tell somebody that's getting ready to date or court that, don't feel that the third date you have to give it up. That's the American culture. Third date, you're going to have sex. And so people think, and then some people feel like, oh, it's a 90-day rule. Well, if you're with this person for 90 days, it's okay to go all the way. I think it should be much more than that, where it's not the time frame, 3 dates or 90 days, but it's supposed to be where you're learning about this person and where you're going as a goal oriented person or your career. And then we can share on some of those things that, some other things that if we didn't know before you get married, I think courting, it shouldn't be what's your favorite color. It shouldn't be what you like. It should be what are your goals, your dreams, your aspiration, that kind of a thing. My biggest challenge in my first marriage was I wasn't in my career for the bulk of the time we were courting. So my career was kind of like this new thing that now I'm learning what the hour is going to be as an engineer and producer. And now my spouse is learning that and disapprove of it. And so that caused a big wedge, a big division, because it's like, she never signed up for that. Can't blame the woman. Really can't blame me. I find one good thing that I'm good at, and so some of those things. So know yourself, bold, career, and me leave the other people and can chime in on that.
Okay, I'm just speaking to those who've been divorced before, and maybe some of the things that you would have done differently. Thank you, Canute. That was very extensive. I'm going to go to you, Pastor Thomas. What were some of the things now that you're out of it, and what would you have done different? What are some of the things to look for if you had known?
Well, for me, looking back, I would seek counsel. One of the, I think, downfall of my relationship, I didn't find counsel. Not that I didn't find counsel, but counsel was not available in the capacity that was needed to research some of the stuff that could possibly come up in a marriage, or even to take a little bit more time to learn the individual some more, and understand some more of the ways. Get into a little fuss and quarreling first before settling down and thinking this is it, and then later on you find out there was some things that were hidden that you were not aware of. So now you are in this thing, and what do you do when you encounter these things? So counsel would be my major thing, and to see more, and maybe when I was younger, I didn't believe in dating in the sense that I saw it when I came to the state, but courtship, I should say. Court a little bit more, find out more about the individual, finding out some of my flaws and my faults and failures, so that at least we can be compatible, be equally yoked then, if you put it that way, because sometimes we just see things, or we didn't see things that we should have seen before we say I do. And then on my side, that I think if I had more counseling, more time to gravitate towards the things that fill me, and not letting go of some sacred things that I held before I got married. I let go a lot of them just to get married, because there were some no-nos for me that when I was growing up, you could not face me with these things. But now, also, I think the pressure of the other people that are around you, them getting married and you being single, and all of that comes together. In other words, not be influenced by other people's decision.
That's right.
Decision that they make. So in other words, you making the decision based on you, and not how others make you feel about a particular situation. And so learn how to keep lust under control. Yes, I said the word, because when you're dating and you are attracted to the
Yeah.
opposite sex. Oh yeah, that's real stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you think you can hold out because whatever, and so you hurry up and get this thing over with, not looking at some of the pitfalls that you might encounter. So I would definitely say that more awareness of self and killing self. There's a song I like. I just learned it the other day. Kill My Flesh. I forgot who sang it. Um, but to help the flesh to get under control, and those are some of the things that I would have done or do if I have the opportunity to go back and fix some things. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna come to you in a minute, Davis. There's a question there. I just put it on the screen for someone to answer later. But I'm gonna go to you, Marlene, because you've been divorced. So, as I've asked the other two gentlemen, what would have been some of the things that you would have done differently, like red flag, before even going to that?
Not to get married. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Love it so much I did it twice. I lost twice. Anyway, and this is one of the reasons I would have courted rather than dated a few times and then set wedding date. Straight up.
So you're saying dating and courtship is two different things then?
Right. And I did mention that. I think I raised it the last time that I dated, and I thought, in my view, the person I dated should be the one I marry, so that I'm not seen as dating Dick, Tom, Harry, and John. And so my perception of it was incorrect. Mm-hmm. And I just learned this about 2 years ago in a singles ministry. And so that was one of the things. Also, I did not seek counsel. I didn't think I needed counsel, but I thought we had a good thing going on. We know how to pray, and it will be all, but let's not fool ourselves. No man is an island, or no man or woman alone is an island. And so I would seek counsel, not just prior, but during the first few months of the marriage, the planes start to land. And like my brother said, you start to see each other's flaws, etc. And you're probably not prepared to deal with it. You probably don't have the capacity to deal with it. So some counseling during would be fine. So that's what I would do. And then I would not marry someone because of the potential that I see. Having the love and all of that is one thing, but sometimes, you see a potential. He may have a particular trade. He may, preach good. So you may think he's going to be this big pastor. So you're going to get married. That wasn't my case, by the way. Let's just put it out there. But we marry potential. But what if the spouse that never realizes their potential? Then you've married with that thought in mind. They don't realize it, their potential, and then you're deeply disappointed. These are just some of the things that I would do differently.
Okay. Dr. Olivia, I'm giving you a doctorate. Can you define first of all, we need to define what is marriage versus courtship. I think that's going to put some clarity on where we go.
You mean what's dating?
Dating, sorry, versus courtship.
Well, the doctorate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Will come in about 4 months. I graduate May the 21st with that degree. So.
Amen.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'll graduate May the 21st with a doctoral degree in strategic leadership.
Okay.
This year or last year?
Pardon me?
This year or this year? Okay. Well, congrats in advance. Yeah.
Thank you. So before I respond, I was listening to everybody's giving some reasons what they would have done before. Mm-hmm. And do you know that all three of you guys said the same thing? Know myself first.
Okay.
Canute said he would have preferred to know himself. Bishop Thomas said, I wish I had waited and knew a couple of things about myself. And I hear Marlene saying, I know I could have kind of assessed the situation differently. Interestingly, though, there's a common element that all of us make, and it's called emotional intelligence.
Could you clarify and then go into that? Just clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I guess the lead on from there, because I think we need to clarify what is dating versus courtship.
So dating and courtship, two separate. I can go on a date with you to the movies. We could just go together to the movies. We just want to enjoy. Okay, I'm a track runner, past track runner, so I like going to watch the Olympics. I like soccer, and so if you like soccer and you invite me to a date to go to soccer, it doesn't mean that I have a relationship with you. It means that we have a common interest. We have a common interest in sports, and so we go together. You might say, okay, I'm going to this concert. Marvia is going to have a concert. You want to come? We buy tickets and we go. But that doesn't mean you're courting me. We have an interest and we're both going because we're interested. Courting now takes on a more intimate, personal feeling where there's this liking for this individual. There's some characteristics that draw me to this individual. There's something about this person that I like to be in the individual's presence. Those things normally develop during the dating period. You begin to, oh, she likes sports, or she likes music, and you just feel your way around until you start getting these feelings. One of the cautions that I would have is that you might develop feelings for somebody, but like Marlene said,
Marlene, yeah.
Marlene said she may like the potential in you. So that's a conflict. She only likes the potential in you, but you have this intimate desire. You really need to know, does that individual has the same intimate desire with you? Then you start branching off into courtship, as long as it's compatible, but not because of my potential or what you think I can accomplish. That's a mistake that you've made there.
Okay. So courtship, because dating is pretty much just hanging out then. Just probably going out to the movies, blah blah blah. But then could some people go on several dates with the same individual? Does that mean it's now courtship?
No, it's not. It would never be courtship until that internal intimate desire begins to rise in both parties. You don't want to say, oh boy, I love this girl, and then the girl is saying, I just like to go to the movies with you. I mean, that's a conflict of interest.
You just saw
yeah. So,
okay. So, Pastor Thomas, you were going to say something about the difference, or anybody else want to add to that? Anybody?
Repeat that, Marvia.
I'm just saying. I think Pastor Thomas wanted to add something. Anybody want to add anything to that? The dating versus courtship.
I think it's spot on. I think it's spot on. And I think I would even go one step further and say, how do we educate people now? Because it's not just the younger generation, because you literally have people that's in their 30s and 40s, probably in their 50s, that just getting this epiphany, just getting this revelation. So how we educate, I mean, obviously share this link and tell people about the link and go back and watch it. But how do we know? Is it a course where, we put online? Do we tell churches, hey, these are some of the things that you need to, you have a singles ministry, you have a marriage ministry, but you have to have your courtship ministry. Like people, hey, if you know you're going, this is somebody serious, then sign up and you come on a workshop, something like that. Because saying it here, it's great, and people get a wholesome aspect of marriage, dating, courtship, marriage, and so on. And if you're going through divorce or you've been through divorce, looking back what you've been through, what are some of the things you learn and how you don't do it again? Or even if you do it once or twice, do you, it's like, you're done for? Do you marry the third time? Where you stand with that?
Okay, when somebody's speaking, mute because I'm getting the feedback.
But Canute, isn't the premarital counseling the courtship ministry, so to speak? I mean, you must be courting before you seek.
Okay, wait a minute. I mean, your daughter's on here causing trouble. She says, I disagree. I would say that dating is your time to collect data from each other. Courting is when you're transitioning from collecting data. I agree with that. to grow
I
in,
agree too.
to grow.
But that's basically what I forget the name that she said, because I was taught that in the church that every person you date is a candidate towards marriage. That's what I
No,
was taught. No, no, I'm just
Near
telling you
you,
what
Bishop.
just hear me. That's what I was taught, that
no.
every person you date is a candidate towards marriage. And I understand the essence of what they were trying to say. Don't mean every person you date you're gonna marry. But as she just said, you collecting data. So out of that pool of people who you date and talk to, then you move to the next phase for courtship, where you now exclusive and say, this is the person that I am seeking out and I'm going to find more information about and then pursue marriage. That's the element that is kind of missing, because most of the times when I was growing up, people don't really date. You find someone and you said you're in courtship, and they, funny, in our time they would post it on the door, put a note on the door that so and so is coming together to be married, and it was a public thing. So now everybody knows that you both of you are exclusive, and so now you move on to marriage. So casual dating is okay in my book. Just go out, as she said, gather data. You see someone likes, dislike. You're looking for compatibility, basically. You're looking for someone who can not complete you but complement you. Because I know we always say, "Oh, he completes me. She completes me." I don't believe in that nonsense. Nobody completes anybody. The other person complements the other one. So you collect data. I don't like the way this one eat. I don't like the way this one chew. Seriously, these are some of the things that people honestly go through, and they don't. I don't like.
Yeah,
I don't
yawn and
like all. Yeah, I don't like how you eat. I don't like how you burp after you eat. These are some of the annoyances that causes issues in marriage. So we learn more things as we deal with the people, as we date them, and as we go from place to place and share and see how the chemistry work, our compatibility, and all of that stuff, and being equally yoked. When I say equally yoked, a lot of times we think equally yoked, we think Christian, non-Christian, but there are a lot of other phases of being an equally yoked. For example, someone who is marrying someone who is highly educated, and the other person just has elementary education. A lot of times those things causes problem because there's a gap, there's a barrier between those individuals. So we really got to find out those things that are important to us, and not only to us, but to the other party, and then come together and say, okay, we can make this thing work. Because marriage, I think I said it some times ago, marriage is not a box filled with all goodies. Marriage, when you're married or you're courting, you have an empty box, and you pick all the good things that you want out of you, out of her, and you put it in the box and you build on that. So, but we flip it the other way around. We do the marriage and we think it's gonna be hunky dory after the honeymoon or during the honeymoon or whatever phase we are, and then we encounter problems that we really don't know how to deal with and apply the counsel that we get and use it to better ourselves.
Okay, I'm gonna you're speaking a minute, Canute. Another thing I would suggest also in the dating process, in the gathering of data, is to do go out in groups. Don't just go with that individual. Go out in a group setting where people are having discussions. You learn about each other even without even dating, because having that, if all of you going bowling and you're having discussions, just hanging out, watching a movie, 3 or 4 of you together, instead of just having the pressure on 2 people, and then that creates a lot of problems too when there's just the 2 of you. So you can gather a lot of data in a setting where, like, going out in a group of people and discussions come up. You see how that happens. Because I was in a group setting and one guy said to me, then Marvia, you wouldn't get up and make me breakfast in the morning. My response was not very ladylike, because I'm living in Canada where, hello, who get up and boil breakfast in the morning, that was very traditional. I say you don't ever eat if you wait for that to boil, because
But that was a good question.
Huh?
That was a good
yeah,
question.
but that was my response. That tells
Oh,
me
wow.
I don't want to be with somebody who expects me to get up in the morning and boil him or make him breakfast in the morning. If I'm not
made the
working,
guys a breakfast.
if I'm not, my response was not. I mean, I have to be out in the morning. I was doing secular back then, and I said on the weekend I'll even bring you breakfast in bed, but during the week it ain't gonna happen because I'm running out grabbing a coffee and a muffin. So those are things that people just throw out there, and you have to say, hey, I don't want to be with somebody who expect like Jamaica. You have to boil food in the morning, boil banana and all of that. And I'm sorry, it not gonna work because that's a lot of time. If I'm home, like I said, anyways, that's another. Go on, Canute. Go ahead with your.
I'm going to stir up the pot, right? I'm going to really stir up the pot. Gathering data, nice. It sounds good. It sounds first world and 21st century. But people change. Gathering data at what age? If it's somebody who already live life, then yes, by all means, them kind of setting them ways, them have them career and stuff. But gathering data from a 20-year-old, them going to change. What I was or who I was in 20, I'm nowhere near that person. I'm like 3 times the person or 4 times the person now. So I'm going to stir up the pot in that. It's kind of not so real world and practical. And then guess what? People, when they're looking people to marry or when they're dating and courting and marriage, they're looking for perfect. Nobody not perfect because you yourself not perfect. So how him squeeze the toothpaste or him leave him socks? Hello, using Marvia phrase. Hello, not because you yourself do something that him don't like. And Marvia, why would you not want to get up and make your husband breakfast, boiling breakfast? Because you don't want him to do that to Don. He would be a nice guy. So come on, you can't be looking for somebody perfect or somebody that you want them to be. It's almost like, again, women fantasize the wedding day and who their husbands are going to be and don't look on practical things. So what if him don't put on the toilet seat or him turn the toilet paper somewhere else? That don't mean that him don't love you or him not gonna take care of you. It just mean that him have that something. It shouldn't be a case where you're nenge him 9 years for him do this one thing where you love. Because chances are if him flip it around, you have a dozen things that he doesn't love about you. So we have to put away this perfect thing and wanting to be this perfect, oh, we're together and we're, hashtag relationship goals. Not so. Not a thing.
I am in total agreement. I'm in total agreement with that because things change based on age and maturity and all of that. But I'm saying if I'm in a discussion with someone and I can see that some of the mannerisms, some of the expectations, I'm not gonna be able to meet that. People will change, but I'm not gonna go into a marriage. I'm not going to a marriage with a man expecting his wife to get up every morning and cook him breakfast and then expect, okay, he's gonna change because some men just don't, you know what I mean? So we can discuss that. We can discuss that. Like I said to him, hey, if it means that on the weekend, I'll do all of that. No problem. But during the week, it's not going to be possible because I'm a working woman, right? So I mean, I'm open to flexibility and change, but there's some people who are set in their ways. So on your gathering of data, you can tell if somebody is sort of saying, they're not moving from there. And I know somebody like that right now. So why should I get married thinking, okay, he's going to change when he's already set in his ways? Who had their hand up first?
But then see, gathering data would tell you, okay, I don't like this about that person, okay, but I can live with that. I can deal with that because when a person shows you who they are, now you are now deciphering, can I live with that?
That's
okay?
right.
Because now if you look for, as he just says, nobody's perfect. If you look for everything that is right about the individual, you never get married. All right, because everybody got flaws. Everybody have their ways. They're and they're turned off. But how much can you take before you say, all right, okay, I may not be able to make him breakfast. I'm going to use your example. Make him breakfast every morning. But maybe on special occasion, I could get up and make him some breakfast. And
like I said, yeah.
maybe he now treats you so well when you make breakfast, you want to make more breakfast.
That's right.
That's kind of how the thing works. So, I mean, we gather the information and then see if we can live with that individual based on everything that we have learned. Because you got to take some things and you got to throw some things out. You got to bring some, because people are flawed. I was watching a show the other day, and this guy, he has no hands and no feet, and sometimes we would think that this guy wouldn't even get a wife. He has a beautiful wife and children. So again, she has to take the responsibility to take care of him when he can't take care of himself, because he has no hands and he has no feet. So wherever his shortcoming is, that's where she measures up and help to
But
fulfill
she saw that.
that.
She saw that going in. So
That's my point. So,
feet when they get married, you know,
but
that's pretty.
yeah, how many people would have done that? There, but that's why there's somebody out there for you, where you don't have to worry about all these idiosyncratic things that they have going on in their lives, but you can take some things from it and say, you know what? She has some bad habits, but the good habits outweigh the bad ones. I could deal with that. And you live and you go through your changes in life, and then you enjoy life together.
Marlene,
Okay.
you're next. You guys
Yeah.
kind of give me a signal so everybody gets a chance.
Right. I just wanted to respond to something that Olivia said. I think in our expressing what I said, kind of put a different spin on it. Olivia, I wasn't saying that if you both of you weren't in love, all things being equal, everybody's in love, everything is going well, and then like Bishop Thomas said, I'm saying don't marry potential, because here it is. You're saying, okay, I have a doctorate and he just have a high school like primary education. So I'm saying there's a potential that he can go back to school. There's, in sound kind of bright. So I see this in him, and you're planning all of this based on your potential for him, and he hasn't realized, or she doesn't realize her potential, and then now you're living in this false idea of who you marry. That's number one. Two, Canute, it doesn't matter what age you're at, you still have to collect data. I think what my daughter was trying to say, it's not a courtship, it's going out to find out, whether you're 20 or 50, who you are right now, because I'm dating you right now. We're always going to change. And as for, we must realize, like Bishop Thomas says, and I'm putting it in my terms, we all have handicaps, we all have challenges. So whether I have no hands and feet physically, and someone have no hands, like to cook breakfast, boiled food a morning, she has no hands for that, but she may have hands for something else. And so there is a compromise in some areas, and then there's a complement in other areas.
Also, you've got to look at the going into marriage. People talk about 50-50. There's no 50-50. You guys, as we all know, you've got to come in with your full 100 and work it. But there's some things, some women love, there's some things I love to do, and some things I'm not really too crazy about doing within a marriage, right? And some women would just love to take care of. I know a friend of mine from she married, knife and fork, the whole works, at every meal and all of that. That alone made me feel tired just looking at that. That's a lot of upkeep to continue to do on a daily. I'm not saying that will never happen, but
we all have different capacities. We're agreeing with you, though. Capacity, different capacity.
No. What I'm saying is, there are times when you just wanna relax and just be casual, right? But this was something she did. I think that was expectant of her. The whole table set up, knife and fork and everything on a daily basis, right? And that's what the man wanted. And I don't know if she knew that before, but far be it if one day you say, let's order a pizza or something, and you say, I want a pizza. So there's some things you've got to really look at. I watch a lot of things. Like I said, communication is a huge way of finding out a lot of these things. Look at reactions, and sometimes the man don't talk, but you look at all of that in dating and all of that. I'm not gonna court somebody just like that. I want to talk to you, know what you like, dislike, where you're at. I love to talk and just love to spend time in getting to know somebody. But it's not everything I love doing. Even though I'm a woman, doesn't mean there's everything that I love doing. Some men don't mind doing the laundry. Some don't mind cooking, so it's a matter of finding out, but don't mean leave it all sitting on one person's shoulders, because you'll feel, so you come in, you put up your feet, you're reading your paper, you want my dinner when I come home, that type of stuff. Me couldn't handle that. So based on talking, Miss Your Finger Canute, and I'm gonna ask, I'll leave me out of it. I'm gonna ask Pastor Roberts first, then you Canute, because she hasn't spoken in a while. Go ahead.
So
Unmute your mic. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Pastor.
I would give one advice here, based on all that we've heard, that going into the courtship area and into marriage, to view your partner as a part of the team. Once you both see each other as a team, the waking up in the morning and boiling breakfast is crazy. If I get up in the morning and I feel like I want to make some breakfast, I make it. If you get up before me, just make some breakfast. All of that stuff is madness. We don't do that anymore. That's archaic. If you come home before I do, and you can boil the water. When I come, I'll peel the potatoes. So when you see each other as a team, it works a lot better. My husband and I learned that on our way to getting married, that viewing each other as a team works much better than outlining, well, this is your role, you're supposed to do this, and that's your role. My husband will do the laundry, and I'll sweep the house. He'll cut the grass. And then I like to tell couples that if your wife gets help in the house, your nighttime experience would be marvelous.
Yes. Tell him again.
Wanna hear that?
That's the truth.
Sometimes.
Stay out of this. Let her talk, woman of God. Talk.
If your wife gets the help in the house, because remember, especially she's working, she has to work, she has to come and take care of the kids, she has to cook food, she has to clean the house. By the time the night comes, the woman's body is so tired.
Praise the Lord.
You sat and relax all day, your testosterone is up on the highest level, and then it causes conflict.
That's right.
If you can help out in the house, so when she comes, you both can find some time to sit down and be intimate, then it works itself out. The other thing about pulling up the toilet and squeezing the
toothpaste,
the toothpaste, those are just habits that individuals have. And like you said, Canute, you were so right. That might be his habits, but you got yours. But you need a compromise. You need to say, all right, I speak loud, and you don't like when I speak loud, and I don't like when you keep the toilet seat up. You come to a compromise. So it's doable. So my first advice is that they view each other as teammates.
Let me ask a question. What if there's a situation? Oh, did I have you speak it?
No, let me talk before you ask a question. Now stir up the pot. Me's a pot stir up. Me chef tonight. Listen to me. Real talk. A man knows how to play the game. If a woman is courting a man and she's going to tell him what she likes, as often as she does, she's going to say she wants a man like so-and-so. She drops subtle hints and blatant hints. You know what? He's going to be that guy if he really wants some. If he really want to get in bed with her, if he really want to marry her, I'm going to be that guy. And he can change, right? So let's get that out the way. And for those of you who go, knife and fork every day, shake my head, listen to me. What is there is one extra utensils to wash. It's no different. And if the man was rich enough to carry out to lunch and dinner every day, you would have get a knife and fork. So don't spend time on the minutia. Don't spend time on these other things as if it's this thing. If a man asks you to cook for him and he will wash the car, cut the lawn, and all that stuff, it's like you said, Olivia, it's the compromise. It's what the team does. It shouldn't be like me now get up and cook the man food every day. So what, you not gonna eat?
Canute,
you eat, why him not eat? Come on, ladies, come on, men. Where the men them there?
That is not what is being said. If
somebody just write knife and fork every day, shake my head, and you say knife and fork every day as if it's so condescending, as if
that is what he wants. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for myself.
My point is the minutia of these little things is insequential, or it's insequential to the marriage. the marriage way is supposed to look. Do we have a savings? Are we going to work towards our building our empire? What are you working? Are you going back to school this year? These are some of the things we should talk about.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
These things don't destroy marriages, you know.
That is fine. We're not putting marriage on the I will marry you based on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about things that are already happening. I'm not gonna say if you want knife and fork. I'm not putting the emphasis on those other things. Why I should or should not marry somebody. These are things that
I know you're not saying that. I'm not picking on you, Marvia. I'm just saying
it's not. We're not minimizing what somebody wants. If he wants, I'm not minimizing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is we cannot go into a marriage saying if the man says, okay, I want this every Tuesday, and I say, okay, yes, like you said, a guy's will be whatever you want him to be. Yeah, the woman can be the same thing. If I'm gonna smile and nod, yes, sweetheart, whatever you want, yes, sweetheart. And then when I get married now, I'm saying, well, forget about this thing every Tuesday. I'm not gonna do it. So we have to know going in, because some people's idea of a marriage could be based on rubbish. Why they get married and why they get out of marriage. Something to make the
last one before I shut my mouth, right? Last one before I shut my mouth. If you're in the church and not supposed to live together or have sex before you get married, how when you gonna know?
Wait a minute. Canute, you're running
But
way
you won't know somebody's living habits unless you live with them.
Not
So
necessarily.
what I'm saying, let me just prove my point. Hello. What I'm saying is we're not basing a decision on that. Everybody is, for example, there's some women, for example, this guy gave me an example. He's into gym, and he likes to work out and he's into healthy eating. But he says, every now and then I want some curry goat or whatever. So he was dating this girl and now she is right, them little diet things. So I love the fact that you exercise, love the fact that you take care of your body, but the woman can't cook. You know what I mean? Because me can't eat what you call those rice things that and that was the turn off for him. He loved the fact she looks good and shaped well, but him can't go and eat. She wasn't able to give him a healthy curry goat once in a while. So all I'm saying in regards to that, Canute, is this. That's what we talk about. The problem happens most of the time before the marriage, but we make a lot of compromise saying, yes, I will be all of that until when you say I do, then okay, well, there's knife and fork. Me not go to that fee every day. Me not go to that. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. We say yes, sweetheart, because we want the ring. Yeah. And we'll say anything and agree to anything. And then when you're actually married now, you say, well, I'm not, I'm Sunday, grow up or whatever. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying make it a basis for marriage. I'm just simply saying Marlene is before you, Bishop Thomas.
Oh, she has her finger up there.
I'm just simply saying that you have to know before you go in. Even if it's as stupid as cooking or knife and fork, you got to go in knowing exactly what it is you're able to put up with, whether it's whatever it is. I just use as an example. So don't take it and beat me with it. Hello, I beg. Go on, Marlene.
Canute, I agree with you. Sometimes when we don't like something for ourselves, the way we respond to it send a message to other persons and younger persons that, I can't do that. It's just like you said, whether it's cutting the grass. If I'm not going to go out there and cut the grass, I could set the table. If this is what you want, we all have a capacity and grace to take on certain things. So I shouldn't get to feel lowered or what feel that I'm silly or stupid because I'm setting the table and I'm calling my husband my Lord. I shouldn't be made to feel lower. This is what I can take on. This is what makes my marriage work. This is why he has me on the pedestal that he has me on, because I'm able to cater to him. And that catering to him goes from the dining table to the bedroom to outer yard. And so we must be able to voice our own, what applies to us, without making others who have experienced that or want to experience that think that it shouldn't go like that. It should go the way that I think it should go. That all has to be decided
going in. You can't make promise and say I will, and then when you go in, you have a problem with
But
it.
that's with everything. But
Yes,
with everything.
if that works for the couple, like Pastor Willie said, it's a partnership going in. If that works for you going in, all power to you. But don't go in and then change the rules and say, well, me don't like that, I can't do that anymore. So be careful what you are saying, okay, I can do, and then when it's required of you, then you have a problem with it. Pastor Thomas, go ahead.
Well, that's why we have to be careful what we entice our other spouse with, because whatever we use to draw them to us, that is what they're going to expect after they get married. And so a lot of people do things just to entice someone to get married, and then after they get married, everything changes, and that's very detrimental to a relationship. The complement in the relationship is when both people come together and realize, okay, here's my suitcase with all of my issues. Here's your suitcase with all of your issues. Let's pick from them the best ones that we have and throw out the ones that we will not use in this relationship. And now use the ones that we are capable of using to make this relationship better. Because remember, I said we're going to put into that marriage box the good things, because we all have our idiosyncrasies, right? We all can agree with that. We all have things we like, things we don't like. But if we sit and talk about our likes or dislikes forever, we're not going to get married, because we're going to find that somebody have the same issue. So we have to recognize that when we come together, it shouldn't be the little things that make the determination of if we be together forever. It should be the things that's going to build. Are we going to build on? Because especially if we have family, or we're building families, having children, we're going to have to learn how to teach them and cope with some of the things that our spouse, what annoys us, if I could use that word, and allow this relationship to grow. So we really have to get to the place of understanding. I shouldn't say we are, because I'm married now, so I got to work on my life. But for the people who are looking for information, here are the things we're saying. Don't do things that you cannot do after you get married, or you're not prepared or willing to do after you get married, because it can become a stumbling block in your way. Because now here's this man who's used to his knife and his fork, right? You started out eating like that, and now he was looking towards that, and all of a sudden you change.
That's
and
right.
You give him no information. You just this is old fashioned. I can't deal with that. Blah 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 blah. And now it becomes a problem, because that could be the highlight of his day, or his what he wants and likes. And so now you cut it out, and you keep cutting things out. When you do that, it creates a whole lot of problems. So we have to understand that as small or as minute as these things might seem to us, they might be a big deal for others. That is why when we court or date, we see some of these things and we know if we can live with certain things, yes or no. And then we make that decision that, you know what, this is what this individual is like. I'm going to live with this one, and I'm going to work on this thing until I become a better man and see how things work. I'm gonna share an example with you. I'm a very neat person, right? And in the previous relationship, I used to get home and raise hell if the shoes were out of place, because that's the way I was raised. You shouldn't scatter things all over the place. I got to step over shoes to get to my room. What's going on here? Couldn't you take it up? Couldn't you pick it up? And that was always my argument. I'll be miserable when I get home. And I couldn't understand why I was so miserable. And they're like, why? Couldn't you say hello before you talk about the shoes? Well, if you pick up the shoes, I would have said hello. You see how we get it? Until I recognize that I have to change my ways. And so now when I see the shoes, I just walk over them and go where I'm going. And it don't become a problem to me no more till they have to ask me, can't you pick up the shoes? You see, so now it's a growing process when we understand that, one thing should not make or break a relationship. But as we look through the different things, we pick the good ones and we change the ones that we can change and change and morph into a better person, a better human being, that is. Male and female.
I think, Canute, as you said earlier, in regards some of the things that we emphasize on and minimize right? And I think that, okay, if like the example about the shoes and all of that, there's some things that can be looked over and can be sometimes that we maximize the small things and minimize the little things. For example, if you have to look at also what you're bringing into the marriage as well. You can't come to the marriage expecting, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want. A lot of people, is a selfish behavior of coming in wanting your needs to be met, and then if you want the knife and fork, okay, maybe I will accommodate that. But then are you willing also to if there's a time when that cannot be done, are you going to kill me because of it? So some things are just overly like, it's like law, and it's not life and death situation. If you come home and the shoe's out of place, it doesn't mean that the person doesn't love you and care for you, right? We put so much emphasis on the you do and all of that. And a lot of times those who are making the demands do not offer the same kind of service in trying to please the other person. I'm gonna call you in a minute. And when in regards to that, it's if I'm looking out for Canute in a marriage, if I'm catering to his needs and he's catering to mine, there's some things that you definitely say, you know what, I can't compromise with that. And some things you can let go. Sometimes we just need to look at what is it going to benefit the marriage, or the fact that the woman cannot cook banana the way you wanted to cook, does it make her less of a person or less of a, you know what I mean? Sometimes the emphasis are just on the wrong things. Pastor Olivia, sorry.
So my recommendation is during courtship, you have to be brutally honest.
That's right.
That's the problem, because if you go into the marriage with this fake persona, of course, the fakeness is going to rub off, because marriage is a real deal. So before you go into the marriage, be brutally honest. And the other thing, which is what we've been talking about all last week and this week, is the art of communicating. Because if you see the shoe, your wife can't read your mind that you don't want the shoe there. You have to sit and say, you know what, it annoys me when things are scattered. Then you're able to communicate and come up with some strategy. But 9 times out of 10, we tend to lock down, because I am like you. I like things in order. If it's out of order, it's like I'm going to go nuts, until I have to sit with my husband and say, this is how I was raised. And then my husband has to say to me, it's not the end of the world.
That's
so
right.
now I'm able to see both sides, and he's able to see my side. Now we don't have that issue. Now my husband and my son knows, okay, once mommy gets home, the house has to be tidy. So they'll straighten it up. Not as good as I want to, but because now we've compromised. They know what my hang-ups are. I know what they are, and we work together. So the art of communications will be the second one. First one is to see your partner as a team. The second one, be brutally honest.
I think a lot of times the people going in, especially church folks, are very hypocritical when they in their courtship, because of the whatever is supposed to be expectant of them, and what is classified as a good wife or a good husband. And I think that's where the problem is. What is a good wife and a good husband? As Caribbean, where I'm coming from, a good wife, you can cook, you can wash, and you can do all of the domestic stuff, right? That's what I see as a good wife. And a lot of times, this is going to get dicey, where now, okay, she can cook, wash, and all that, and she's lousy in the bedroom, okay? And then you say, then when you marry her, now you want out because she can cook you a good meal, but she's not shaped the way you want her to shape her the way. So a lot of emphasis is on the wrong things. And yes, it's true. I've seen it a lot. They marry the one with the little Vaseline on their lips and the nappy hair and the long dress and all that. And then when they marry them and they go in the bed and realize that them can't do nothing, then they go back out, start looking at the ones that they said, well, that may look like what they think would please them in the bed. And that's truth. Right? So a lot of times our emphasis is on what is a good woman or a good man is based on the wrong things. If the woman is educated, well put together, will take care of her or her husband, and in some ways maybe she may not be as domestic or whatever, then you try and work together like a person. It's a team. But a lot of time the emphasis on what is a good man, a good woman is wrong. So what is a good man and a good woman? Because sometimes we don't know. Because if you go to church 7 days a week, you're a good woman. Yeah. And if you're a pastor, you're a good man, but yet you may be beating your wife or fooling around. So we need to emphasize what is a good wife and a good husband, or a good man, a good woman. Okay, what? This something freeze?
No, not no freeze. Me just wait my turn.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I can't believe you got here.
Yes, I did.
Get excited. I love when you got here. I love the sauciness.
Yes.
So let's give some context now. I'm going to be like a little co-host here right now. Like, let's give some context. Dating is, you see a guy you like him have potential. You go and look into more potential and you get a data. You get a data and you say, all right, him cool, him nice, him have little use. You know, him have little use, him grow in a good house and thing. And you start courting. What do you talk about in courting? Because courting don't mean know that me like you go on more dates and then we set a wedding date. So context would be now you start talking about money. Mm-hmm. You start talking about sex. You know, like what Marvin just said, you start talking about, you know, career and power and control and some of these other things, if there are issues or if there are something that you're concerned about based off of personality. I'm going to talk about the money one, right? A lot of people don't talk about the money one because it's almost like you don't want to say to your partner, how much you make per year? Or in the case of Caribbean, in the case of Jamaica, how much you make a month time or a fortnight. A long time I said that, right? So people don't talk about these things. And we talk about this, I think it was our first episode where the woman have her get vex money one side and the man must always be the one with it. Give her a thing, or in some of the cases, give her money for run the household, but she have fair like a money stash just in case him leave. And so she would don't get high and dry. I think we need to talk about some of these things where you come to the table and you say, you have your account, me have my account, we have a joint account, what goes into what and how we split up the thing, 50-50 or 100-100 or how it go. Because that, when you're getting married and go down the road, you have problems down the road with the money situation if it don't right. And then obviously what Marvin just said about the sex situation, you can't perform, whether it's man or woman or just boring overall. But you're not gonna know, if you're in the church, you're not gonna know till you're married on the wedding night, then you have to perform Super Bowl. You're muted, Marvia.
Yeah, okay. I believe that a lot of times, because there is no proper courtship, a lot of those things you're not aware of that, right? Because like you said, dating, when people may get a little bit just over into the flesh and get, you know, I don't know if it's another word, if I'm horny is appropriate, but you know, in the idea of dating and running around and then, you know, just appeasing your flesh. But in courtship, it gets more serious now. We talk about these things because and one man may believe in one thing, and some of them may be a bit more exposed in relationship. You may be a virgin coming in, or he may be a virgin coming in. One person said the man can teach you. Sometimes the man them don't know nothing either. Don't mean that because him a man that him know how to teach you certain things in bed. So it depends on where you're at. Yes, it's true. And because him a man don't mean him know everything. Right? And
it's called sexual education. Everybody should know. It shouldn't be a man must know a woman.
Yeah. But I'm saying, she's saying the man can teach the woman. Always the man teaching. So it depends. Sometimes the woman is more experienced. Sometimes the man is more experienced. And I'm gonna have you speak, Pastor. Yeah, and so it depends on brutal honesty. Talk about the something. Because hello, if you're too shy to talk about it, what are you gonna do when you're married? You're gonna say, oh my God, I'll be back. Let me go talk to Pastor, go talk to my friend. Hello, talk about it. Sex is not a sin when you get married. It's gonna be, you're gonna have to be naked in front of this man, not only naked in talking, but physically naked. What are you gonna do when you're gonna the bedroom? You say, oh my God, I didn't know. Yeah, you better know Because now you say you want to get married. Hey, you gotta step up and know we're too. We look as somebody says sex. Oh my God. And it was, oh my God. Hello, we need to get past that. It's a different era we're living in. It's not back in Jamaica anymore where you wear a long frock everywhere and nobody even see your ankle, much less your kneecap, right? We've got to be real. Talk about it. And I believe if he doesn't want to talk, if she doesn't want to talk, red flag. If somebody said, oh, that I can't talk about that. I mean, my mother to this day, if you talk about it, she's like, oh my God, it's like, you don't talk about that, and so it's sex. She's had sex. That's why I'm here. But if you go and talk about it to her, she will say, oh, I don't want to talk. You know what I mean? So we're past that. I know you can't hold your head all you want, Marlene. It's called sex. It's sex. Yeah. Sex. Hello. Yeah. So if you don't want to talk about it, how are you going to do it? Go ahead. Whose hand was up? Go ahead, Pastor Michael.
Well, I think there's a misnomer about relationship and sex and sexuality. Everybody don't know everything, and I think God's way of doing things, and we always got to come back to roots and to base. And I know people experiment and they do all kind of stuff and mess ourselves up and think we're good in bed or whatever. Sometimes what some folk call good is just rubbish, nonsense, because that's not going to be adequate for the partner that you have. So when you're married to that person, both of you now have to learn how to take care of each other's sexual needs. And so you read books, you do what you have to do to find the erogenous zones, find their sex language, if that's such a word, whatever really turn them on to make them want you more and more. That's what you're going to have to research. And because the body is to explore. When you get married, I'm talking about the body, the physical body. And some folks don't want to deal with it. And I understand some of the older folks, the negative connotation that comes with sexual activity, or the shamefulness that some people have because they experiment outside of marriage. But you have to explore each other's body and find out what you like, find out what she likes, and then you learn and she teach you, ask her if it's good, she asks you if it's good. If it's no good, you find another way. That we're not all missionaries. I'm serious. We have to find out what our spouse like, because some people like to be really kinky in bed. That's fine too. Go get kinky. Do what you have to do. Satisfy your husband, satisfy your wife, so that when you see all those girls and boys out there doing their thing, they don't take your focus off what you have at home. And so that's really what we are to teach now. Those days that those things were not taught, they're gone, they're over. People can't, even if you come from under the rock right now, you will know certain things. And like I said, most people's idea of sex and intimacy is what they see on TV, what they watch in pornographic movies and all of these stuff, and they bring these things in their bedroom and think that's how it works. This is not Hollywood. You and I have to take time and to find out what our spouse like, and then play that role and be sufficient for that individual, so that your marriage could grow. That's really what it is and how it is supposed to be.
Yes, and another thing is, even if it's something that you're not familiar with or you're not used to, I'm a little bit radical about this, because I've been growing up. I believe that. Somebody, so mute your mic. I'm here. Yeah, I believe that that a lot of marriages have been damaged, and some people are still in marriage and they're not happy because of what was presented to them has been marriage going in. And I mean, growing up, you when you see a man, you run like an idiot, because just to be standing talking to a man in the community is a taboo. So a lot of us grew up out of that, and it took a while to break out of that, because what you're taught growing up is like it becomes a part of you, even as older as you get. And sometimes that's the reason why there's such a gap. Pastor Olivia talked about our young people. We need to really be teaching our young people now, because it's not, we may have made some mistakes in the past, but if we don't want to talk about it, whether you're into that type of thing or not, if you don't want to talk about sex or the different ways of pleasing your husband, when then you're setting up the couple for a fall. You've got to be able to talk about it. And you may not like certain type of behaviors or in the bedroom, but that don't mean that you're gonna saying, don't do this because you're not into it, right? You've got to talk about it, look at the safe way, what's practical, so that they don't think that they're committing this big sin or crime, and they go into the marriage thinking, oh, my pastor said this is wrong, or my bishop said this is wrong, based on your thinking of what you like or what you were brought up doing. And then it becomes a lot, and then it caused problem even before the person in the marriage. There's a problem because you're going in with what bishop like and what you were told. Not talk about it. It may not be your thing. We're in a different age. Talk about the things, and so you'll know what's safe and what's not safe, what's right or not. Just deal with it. It may not be your thing.
Have a safe word.
Yeah. Talk about it so that people can understand going in
Raspberry.
what to expect. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Pastor.
Which one of us?
What do you mean by raspberry, Canute?
That's my safe word tonight.
So yes, and I totally agree with you, Evangelist Mavia. Going into the bedroom belongs to the couples and nobody else. The pastor shouldn't be in anybody's head. Nobody else should. It's a moment of exploration. You got to learn to explore each other. And I think we have counseled some couples, and I'll tell you that these girls, they go into the bedroom thinking that they married Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
And when things don't stand up as long as it should be, they're so ashamed to come out and say, he didn't please me. Or
because
it's like a taboo, I can't talk. And so they suffer in silence. We've counseled many of those instances without them standing up and saying, okay, let's talk, I'm not satisfied. What can we do together? They don't say anything, and then next thing you know, one thing is they don't want to go to bed. They're too tired. They're having a period, or they're having a headache, and so there's a bunch of excuses, but not saying the exact thing. You do not satisfy me. So here we go again, being brutally honest and being able to explore each other and passing this education down to the next generation. That marriage was ordained by God. Not because Hollywood turned it into some crazy stuff.
That's right.
For us, he made us. He made the woman for the man and the man for the woman. And we should be able to explore patiently with each other until we come into one unit where we decide this is the limits for us, or we go beyond the limits. Pastor shouldn't be in the bed. That's the last place. He's finishes at his office at the church.
That's right.
And the deacon and the mothers of the church, they don't need to be near your house door, period.
That's right.
That creates a lot of problems because we make marriage into four square when it should actually be a simple triangle. Me, you, and God, and that's about it. I'm done.
Okay.
Unless it's role play, Pastor can be in the bed.
I'm just agreeing with Pastor Roberts, and we don't need to think individually how good we are in the bedroom, because what is good to me may not be good to my partner. This is where, like you said, the two becomes one and explore each other, and be able to satisfy each other. So we don't need to have any any trials. We don't need to have any trial run. As Bishop Thomas says, sometimes we get out of what God has ordained, and then this is when we get ourselves in trouble. Let's just follow the instructions of where the Bible gave us that portion to be able to become intimate after the marriage, and do whatever you need to do. Like we all are saying, read your books, get information, explore each other, and whatever goes good for that marriage is good for that marriage. It doesn't have to be good for anybody else.
So, and somebody's another thing. I don't believe in testing any water thing. I think water should be tested a lot of times too. What we bring into a discussion or into a relationship is based on what I like and I like and I like and I like. And then, as Pastor said, we're not in it as a partner. When you're in love with somebody, and you're gonna want to please and take care of that individual. And if there's some things you cannot live up to, or then you discuss it. But you're not going in there. I'm going in. Going most of the times we go in based on what we like and what is going to please me, and that's it. You can't be selfish in a marriage or in a relationship going in, because that if you're just going in to please yourself, it's not going to work. You've got to you have somebody. Is partnership all the way. And so I believe that we need to, I can't stress it enough, we need to be brutally honest, because if you don't find out before, you're going to find out after. And you don't want to find out after, and then you'll be crying wolf and say, oh, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't take the time to discuss. And I'm big on discussion. And anytime I'm shut down, I'm done. Right. So if I'm talking to you and I'm getting all these shut down system, I don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about it later. And you have nothing to say. That is red flag for me, because if I don't know what you're thinking or know what you need, I can't fulfill it. And don't say, why you never did this when we never talked about it. So be brutally honest and deal with this. And sex is not just a bypass or something that you just, hey, do it because you're married. It's a huge part of the relationship.
Ministry.
Yeah, it is ministry. It is ministry. And when I want to be ministered the most is when I just come off the stage and just outpour all of that to the people. That's when I want to be ministered to. Hello? So it's not just about, I'm gonna minister. No, I gotta be deep. No, hello. That's a part of ministry. Hello. So we've got to understand when you're going in, come on, people. Yeah, Christianity doesn't have anything to do with should I have sex on a Sunday morning or whatever. Sometimes we put the Bible where the Bible don't belong. You are human beings, having physical needs aside from your spiritual need. So you've got to understand, going into a marriage, it's not about what you want. It's about also going in to please and to accommodate somebody else that you claim you love and care about. Pastor Thomas?
Oh, that Canute was before me.
I have a question, right? Me as a chef tonight, I stir up the pot. You have a couple, common law, as well them not call it in Caribbean, them living together. They are not Christians, them living together. Would you encourage them to not live together for 10, 20 years, but then get married and to be Christians as well?
Could you repeat that?
Repeat.
You have a couple. I'm giving you a for instance, right? You have a couple, man and a woman, them live together for a long while. Then probably, them just are gone. Would you encourage them to be married and also to be Christians?
Yes.
And why?
Well, because the scripture clearly states that he that winneth soul is wise. We're in the soul winning business, and we have to seek after people's soul, not just the physical part of what people go through. Now, when a man and a woman come together and they're living together, if they're going to please God in their lifestyle, they would have to come together as man and wife, and then seek the Lord in that same arena and allow the Spirit of God to lead them into the path that they should go, because God is against sin. Sin doesn't please God. So we can't continuously do the same thing over and over and then go to God, whether it's me or anybody else. So I would have done that. I would tell you, look, man, listen, Jesus loves you, and he loves you so much he died for you that you might be saved. And then when they come and give their heart to the Lord, we encourage them to move to the next phase of life. And now that you're with someone, I'm not telling you put that person aside or whatever, but you come together, you've been together for a while, take the next step forward in the sight of God and man, and do what is best and live out your testimony in front of God.
Absolutely.
So what benefit marriage has then?
Marriage has all the benefits, because here's what God says, that one of my struggles, I'm gonna share something with you, was not I was trying to figure and understand. That's on the part in the Bible that Jesus says that man should love the wife as Christ loved the church. He equated marriage and the church together in that sense. It is important that we understand and grasp that marriage is what God created for a man and a woman to enjoy the blessing and the benefits of what he created. But I think we have misconstrued the whole thing, and we throw it in a whole chaotic realm, and we think we know more than God. And that's why we're in so much problem nowadays. Because if we go back to the Garden of Eden, God created man. He made him to till the earth, to enjoy the earth, to do all this stuff. Then he brought the woman to him because he said it was good for man not to be alone. And so he brought him a wife, and he named her Eve, or woman, so to speak. So now we have to understand God's order of things. Not only that marriage was made for procreation, it was made for our enjoyment, to please one another, and so that God would get godly offspring from what he placed into the earth. That is exactly what marriage is for procreation, to bring offspring to the Lord, to enjoy yourself, and to multiply and replenish the earth. That's why we are here. But because sin came into the picture, we have a convoluted idea of what marriage is supposed to be. And some folk don't like the word. And I don't even care if you like the word, yes or no. That's the word that God give to us, and that's what we really got to use and understand. So marriage is important because God ordained it, and he wants us to live that out to please him and to continue to grow this earth so that he will get honor and praise from the offspring that we bring to him. That's it.
Okay. What if the creation story is told to us wrong? What if it is reversed? What if it was woman first and she brought forth man?
No, well, that's not what it says. He said the man came first, and then he.
Oh, that's what it says. Okay.
Yes, that's what it says. The woman was created after, and that's why men got to treat women as a weaker vessel and take care of them and fulfill their need. Vice versa, they take care of the men and fulfill the need.
Let's look at something else. We're talking about the not really something else, but we're talking about how to solve, or at least try to find the answers in why some of these marriages are not working. And I think it starts, as we've said earlier, most times in the beginning, the courtship or whatever you want to call it. But let's also look at this as well. Somebody put, my question is, why do Christian marriages don't last? But that's I mean, it's not whether Christian or otherwise. It doesn't have anything to do with whether the person's saved or not. Sometimes it's the same reasons why this don't last. But also going into a marriage, whether you're 21, whether you're 30, whatever age, there is also, we are all a work in progress. Okay. So like we talked about gathering of data, there are times when what you started with is not what's going to happen as you go forward. So there must be room for growth. Sometimes some people mature early and some late. Sometimes it's based on your background, what you see your mother, your father, how they've lived. Sometimes there's abuse in the home. A lot of things can be the starting point of where you're coming from in the marriage. So you've got to understand that there are times when I heard somebody said the other day that, well, I mean, a young man, he's divorced, and the woman who found him said, when the minute she saw him, she decided, okay, the second wife said, hey, this one I'm going after, and she's made up her mind to go after this man because she felt, and she saw him, he was hurt and wounded and all of that, and so she kind of walked alongside him and help him to be healed, which is wonderful. But that is something that the individual has to want as well. So even if at whatever stage you may have been courting and you may think that, okay, we're ready to be married now, so let's do this. There will also be times when there will be situation will arise that will kind of bring stuff in the marriage that you did not expect. So how do you handle that? So are you going to say then, I may never know that and I'm going to divorce, or it should not be something that really shocked you or surprised you to the point where you want to be? Does anybody understand what I'm saying? That it's a process. Now you got to go into the marriage with a mindset of like you're learning, you're now living with a complete, whether you make, no matter how much going in. After you say, I do, there's going to be times when you're going to be throwing a curveball and all of that stuff. So how do you deal with that, whatever that curveball is? What would you say to that? You've got to be open to grow with individual, and maybe, what do you say about?
You got to be open to grow and be honest. In my years of married, being a married man, I've gone through a lot of matriculation myself. I've seen drastic changes in my life to accommodate, to appease, to make the relationship work. I don't like the word compromise anyway, but for lack of a better word, I use that right now. Complement some of the things that were deficient in the other person. So we all got to grow. For me, like I shared before, my reason for moving forward, and because my life was at stake. That's what I truly believe. Because when I get to the place where the devil is telling me to kill myself, and anger, I mean that stuff, if we don't deal with it, it's a killer. And it can get to the best of us, no matter how hard we preach or how anointed we are. Glory to God. There comes a time when we're gonna have to, face our demon, so to speak, and really deal with whatever it is that ails us. And like I said, for me, I will work with you and work with you and work with you and work with you in the eyes of God, and work with you based on the scriptures, and work with you as long as it is possible. And that's really denying myself and putting someone else ahead of me and saying, this is what God will want. And I've done that so many times, so long. And when it gets to the last point, it's like, you know what? I can't do it no more. Because I said two people can't walk unless they agree. That's scripture, right? Two cannot walk unless they agree. There has to be unison. So you can't clap one hand. It won't make no sound. Both have to come together to give you that distinct sound that you need. Same thing in marriage. You have to want, both parties has to want this thing to work, to make it a blessing. And I'm not here to put anybody down or to say anything negative, but whatever state of life we are in right now, please enjoy it. Because today you're here, you don't know what will happen tomorrow. And some of the things that happen to us is I always said, is unimaginable. We never thought that these things could have ever happened. And when it happened, how we respond to it determines how long we stay with a person, yes or no. So keep hope and keep heart and trust God despite of everything, and allow him to lead and guide. Because when the rubber hits the road, you're going to want to make sure that you're found rooted and grounded, and this is what you want till death do you part. Because I'm telling you, there's some stuff in life that can be very disruptive, and disruptive to the place that you will lose your mental equilibrium. So you got to know your threshold. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to run. And that's all I say. I'm not an advocate of divorce, even though I'm divorced. I don't tell people get divorced. What I do is tell people work on what you have and see how far you could go with what you have, and then see how God, apply God in the midst of it, and then allow him to lead you in the path that you have to go with your spouse. That's it.
Okay, let's ask the big question.
Marlene and Olivia, you want to answer that question from Rosetta?
Let me ask.
My question is why Christian marriages don't last. I would think seemingly.
Let me ask a question, please, in regards to that, and that will answer her question. What is the church stand on the reason for divorce? Because some people think you're married for life. Once you divorce, that's your husband. Even if you remarry, is there a legal, scriptural reason for divorce? Go ahead, and then you can. Yeah.
Oh, that's for Olivia. Oh.
Yeah, Olivia.
There's a biblical premise for divorce where the Bible talks about if for unfaithfulness, if someone goes out of the marriage, either the wife goes out and have an affair on the husband, or if the husband goes out and have an affair, there's grounds for divorce.
Right.
But the person was asking why Christian marriage doesn't last. Was that the question?
Mm-hmm.
Each marriage is to its own. You cannot put every marriage in a bottle and say all Christian marriages end in divorce because X, Y, and Z. The issues that the unsaved marriages have are some of the same issues that the Christians, that it all boils down to the individuals. And one key word, self-awareness. If I am aware of my emotions and if I am aware of what's going to trigger me off, then there's certain things I would not do or I'll be careful to do. We go into marriages, we go into anything blindly, and when we are not aware of ourselves, and boils down to that emotional intelligence, knowing who we are, knowing what would tick us off, knowing what would drive us going. We need to know that first. So once we get into the marriage, you can be honest before you get into the. You say, well, listen, these are the things that trigger, I get upset about. These are the things that annoy me. And so you share it right there and then enter into. No marriage works. You have to really work marriage. And every marriage has issues, even mine. You might look at me and say, oh, she's married to it. But what we've learned is to come to the table and talk it out. We will talk it out. We will talk it out. You said you didn't like the word compromise. For a better sense, we try to meet each other halfway. And it works all the time. And sometimes when it doesn't work, because we are Christians, we submit, we leave it, and we keep on moving. But you cannot walk by it and ignore it and be quiet about it and not talking about it. That's fuel for fire.
I think a lot of times so people already make up in their minds that they want out. Because if there's sometimes just not enough reason for you to say, well, I want a divorce. Most times the divorce has crept into the church as just a normal thing. If I don't like it, whatever, if he doesn't do this, whatever, I'm going to get a divorce. A lot of times the reason for divorce is not even a good reason. I think sometimes we just see because everybody's doing it and there's such an easy way out now. The door is always open. Your eyes over the fence looking at something else. You already have your second husband in your mind already. So you're not even thinking about working at what this is. So most of the time, divorce, if you're divorced and the man didn't go out, the woman didn't go out, that means you're still not legally divorced. That's what you're saying, right? If there's no adultery. Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Agree with who?
With just if it's not for adultery, then it's not a legal divorce. I don't agree with that. The scriptures state when God says Moses was allowed to give him a bill of divorcement because of the hardness of their heart. Hardness of heart is a broad word. It's not just being out there running around with somebody else that causes a divorce. When our hearts become hard for whatever reason it is sin that causes the heart to get hard. Divorce is just as sinful as anything else. And when we commit our sins, who do we go to? We go to God and we ask him for forgiveness. The hardness of the heart is at the heart of the issue. And so we can look at so many different things that causes people to fail. Whether it is marriage, whether it is business, and we're talking about marriage, but I'm saying whether it is marriage, business, or whatever, we have to realize that things cause people to fail because of sin. Sin is the underlying issue because our hearts get hard for whatever reason it is. Maybe it's the other spouse don't want to agree with you. Maybe it's you who don't want to agree with the other spouse, and then there's no coming together of the mind. And two cannot walk. Here we go again, unless they agree. If you cannot agree, you have no unity, you have no union. And I understand sometimes people go through the motion and live miserable for the rest of their lives in a relationship that is bogged down. Some people are about to kill each other. What do you do with that? What do you say about that? So what we're not dealing with or understanding is that people have issues. Unless we lay our issues at the feet of the cross and submit to God everything and allow him to lead us and point us in the right way. And sometimes we marry the wrong people because hastily we do things and not recognizing that this person was bad from the beginning. You should not even have done that, but because of society or because of what people think or what people say, now here we are with someone who we're not even in love with, but we just do it just because it's the right thing to do, so let me just do it. Sometimes you marry the wrong people. And what you gonna do? Now, the bill of divorcement was given because the heart gets hard. And I know the scripture states that they came to Jesus asking him question. Moses said this, what do you say? But here's the gist of the old matter. They were talking about adultery and all of this, but here was what Jesus threw the hammer on the top of the nail. He said, if you look at a woman to lust in your heart, you have already committed the sin. So here we go. Some people, because they know you do it outwardly, then it's a big deal. But some people keep doing it in their head before they do it in the bed. So where do you draw the line? When people are actually going about doing stuff in their mind and not actually in somebody's bed. So we all got to understand that God is the forgiver of sin. And whatever sin that we commit, we need to put ourselves in his position and say, God, I am a sinner. I need your grace. I need you to help me. I am weak. You are strong. Help me to overcome certain issues that I face in life. I don't believe that's the final analysis of a man or woman life. If you divorce somebody, you can't get married again, and that's the end of it. And I don't believe that. And
I also believe that forgiveness is first and foremost in any situation. Sometimes even the person go out in the marriage, it could be a mistake. So my first thing is to work it out and to forgive. That's my first move. I did it in my marriage personally. Secondly, I believe that I just lost my train of thought. That's one of my forgiveness first. If you can work it out, but divorce is not always the option. There's various reasons. I agree with you, Pastor, where you just can't. Somebody talk about mental illness and abuse. Of course, you can't stay in a marriage like that if you have that going on. But as a Christian, in anything that we do, because sometimes it's a one-time thing. And this is what I was going to say. When you love and respect you can't have love without respect. Right. And when you love somebody, you respect them, you're not going to want to hurt them or dishonor the vow. So I believe that when there's mutual respect and love, you will try and work it out. Because if I love you and respect, I'm not going to go out and bring anything into my marriage. And I'm going to try the best that I can to honor my vows. So I think sometimes there's love, but just you can't have love and not respect. I don't see how the two can work without each other. So we going in there has to be that up front. The person, you got to, even if the person is a child or whatever, when you love somebody, you give them respect and you honor them because that's how you want to be treated. And I think a lot of that is missing in relationship. Even doesn't have to be marriage, just relationship. Respect has to be there. So that will cater how you treat people. Like I'll just go out of the box for a minute. Like someone will say to me, if I'm gonna call Dr. Olivia a woman of God, we throw things around, but we really don't mean if I see her as that, I'm going to treat her accordingly. Sometimes we put labels on people, but we don't really honor them. It's just labels. So marriage needs to be put back in its rightful place, and it's right how God intends it to be, and just overall in how we treat each other with love and respect, even before you even think about marriage. I don't know if Mark, you had your hand up.
I agree.
Yeah, I had my hand up for a few minutes. I don't even know what I was responding to, but anyway, I will put it as, I guess we're probably closing up soon. Some response that I wanted to make. Like I said last week, like salvation, basically, our marriage, we have to work it out, because what goes for me don't go for the other person. Half the time we look to, like for women, we look to marry Mr. Right. We should spend more time being Miss Right rather than looking for the person that is right, and we leave ourselves in our same condition. We must expect that growth is inevitable. And with that comes changes. So we must be prepared for changes. We cannot continue to be selfish. The marriage won't work if we are selfish. We must always basically continue to be patient, loving, tender-hearted, and remember that we are partners. There are two imperfect people coming together as one, and we shouldn't be too quick to throw in the towel. I think back on the scripture that says, "For this purpose shall a man leave his parents and cleave to his wife." We have to remember that marriage is about purpose. It's not just about the things that we sow, the cooking of the meal and the this and the that and that. That's all part of it, and you do that because you honor, respect, and love each other. So we try to please other. We prefer one another. We outdo each other in showing our love and our appreciation. But remember the purpose of the marriage, like Bishop Thompson so adequately outlined. The purpose is to come together, and out of our lives we bring God glory.
Okay, Canute, you wanted to say something?
What is marriage? What is marriage? Is it a covenant or is it a ceremony that says you're now husband and wife? Because I mean, a covenant with two couple, you know, even if them living together for a time and they're not married, like legally by the law, and they're in a relationship and they're in a covenant, isn't that more seen by God as, you know, as high up there because God on a covenant, you know? And I'm bringing that point up because there's a lot of people that's not of the Christian faith, and what they know is faithful to the partner and the covenant with their partner. And I'm bringing that up again because a lot of times people only think of the marriage as the ceremony, and me going to church and the pastor say, you know, thing, and you're married now, and then now you're off to the races to keep this together and keep it holy, or keep it where you don't divorce. But is it the covenant that's more important, or is it the wedding?
The covenant.
Well, the marriage is a covenant. And I think we can't overlook in God they're absolutes, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. God's word is yeah and amen. Whatever He says for us to do, that's what we have to do. So the covenant is between the man and the woman. Now, God sanctioned entities in this earth. For example, the government. There's no government that is set up today that is not set up by God, or God sees them as who they are, and He relegates that. So when a state gives you a certificate of marriage, it is saying that the state sanctioned that relationship. In the eyes of God, He sees it, and then the state sanctions it. So a piece of paper is important because it is saying that I am establishing a covenant between me and this person, and in the eyes of God and in the eyes of the state, we are now man and wife. And so just living together as two individuals for 10 years, 20 years or whatever, and make a covenant that we're going to be together. That's all good, but it still needs to be sanctioned by God, because God's ways of doing things is different than men. And if there is no absolute, then we just can do whatever we want to do when we want to do it. But they're absolutes in God. And He says this is how it works. As our sister just said, so shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall become one flesh. And so the way God created this institution, all through our creation, you see, He will show us as His people, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. I don't know if you remember reading the Bible about all these men who had multiple wives. And I know sometimes we glorify them and we say all of these things, but God's design was so. He tell them, don't follow strange women. Why? Because they will let your heart stray away from me. And so even though Solomon and David and all of these men have all of these women, you see all the issues that they have in life because of the lifestyle that they choose. God has a way of doing things, and His ways are past finding out. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so we have to relegate and come back to the manufacturer and say, hey, look, if He said these are the specifications, how the car should run at optimal condition, this is how we have to do it to live optimally, to please God, and to do the things that He likes. And then He will get the honor and the glory, and then the blessing will fall down upon our heads. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. That's just the way it will work.
Okay, just one question I'm going to put out there. Somebody asked, and maybe they're coming in late, I don't know. If marriage is a ministry, explain.
Who said marriage was a ministry?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Nobody said that, but it's okay.
Somebody said it. Somebody said marriage.
No, we said sex. We said intimacy was ministry.
Marriage.
Pastor Olivia, answer, please.
I think
the same context.
I think she's asked if marriage is a ministry, to sort of break it down for her. I think that's what she's saying. The fact
Yeah.
that your marriage is an act of service makes it a ministry.
Okay.
It's service, so that you serve your husband, your husband serve you. That's what we do in ministry. We serve one another. We're servant leaders.
You serve the husband, you serve the kids, you serve the community. That's
Yes.
the fabric of everything.
Some people, somebody just asked me a question about you living together for years and then as you get married, it falls apart. That's like I said, with each his own.
Yes.
Yeah, there is no pattern.
There's a lot of feedback. Can we turn off the microphone?
Olivia, so yeah, to each his own. So I don't think there's any pattern for what's gonna work. What we've basically looked at tonight is a lot of the things that could avoid you getting divorced. It's not gonna hinder people from getting divorced, but it's a good place to start to build a good relationship or marriage. And it happens before you say I do, not after. Like some people will stay in a marriage. I know lots of people, especially from the older generation, they're married and they're just in it because, hey, that's all they know. They're not happy. They probably don't even know what it is to be loved and to be cared for. And they don't know what the word intimacy is. Just been sex and having children. That's what sex is to them. It sounds harsh, but it's true. And a lot of them stay in it simply because, hey, that's what they know, but that don't mean it's a good marriage. And people laud it over you by saying, I've been married for 20 odd years. But if you ask them to explain to you what that's about, you'll be horrified and run away if you were to hear what they consider, and it's true, because that's what you're used to. You'd run away and say, me no want to get married if that's it. No, some women, the only thing they know of is to give babies and sex. Sex is not making love. So, I mean, this may be comical, but there's some time ago, this guy did an interview in Jamaica, and he interviewed a lot of pastors' wives. And he said when he was done, he could not publish it. It was horrible what they go through. Him just come, do him thing, roll over and go on to sleep. You know what I mean? So and they stay in that marriage for 20, 30 years. It's depressing, but it's true. But because that's all they know, that doesn't mean if that's where you're getting your feeding from and your teaching from, that don't mean it's correct. Right? So a lot of us are speaking from what we like, what we think it is. But the reality is that's not what marriage is. So if that's what you're in, the fact that you're in it for 50 years don't mean that you're happily married.
But that doesn't mean that they're unhappily married either. Is their expectation. I don't want to, if somebody gets 20 years out of 30 years, if somebody's doing 30 years for life.
Marlene, what I'm saying, I'm not talking about.
Let me finish first, though, Marvia.
I'm not talking about whether it's correct or not. If some people will compromise and I'm saying, is it right? Not necessarily if they think it's a good thing. That don't mean it's a right thing. If there is, some people settle in a lot of situations, but that don't mean it is right or it's happy or that's
right. But different strokes for different folks. We all have a grace and a capacity for whatever. That may not work for me or you, but the woman there that has been married for 40 years and can say that she has had 25 good years, that's good, because even if she was single for 40 years, she probably would have only had 25 good years.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. That's not
what you're saying, but
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about whether she had good years or not. I'm talking about what we call the definition of a good marriage. I'm not talking about somebody who's content in whatever situation they're in. There's a difference. We're talking about marriage. We're not talking about what somebody is contented in or where they're not content. We're talking about what makes a good marriage.
It's just like what makes a good man or a good woman.
If you're in a marriage, Marlene, and you have not experienced love and affection and intimacy, you've just been a baby carrier and whatever, and you think that you're content with that don't mean it is that's it. Some people don't look at somebody who's been abused. Some women think being beaten is well,
I'm not talking about abuse though. I'm just saying that, just like we've said all along through the program, that we cannot put our expectation on people and then begin to even think about, calling what they have something else. If they're happy because that's all they know, if they're happy, that's all they know. They've brought forth these great children, things are going well. They get, like I said, if they get 25 out of 40 years, that's good, because being by themselves, they probably would have had 10 out of 40 years good.
If you're going to teach on a subject, whatever it is, if you're going to teach on a subject, you must teach on it, because when you go to school and a professor is teaching you mathematics, he can't teach you what he has to teach you the rights, the right things, or how to be a good teacher. In the end, you're teaching what you know. You're not teaching just what you experience. You're teaching what you know. And if the marriage is not, if we're going to speak to people about being married, I'm not talking about who is happy with what they are, and I'm not touching that. If they think they're in 40 years being out of just being baby carriers, that's fine. That's them. But you can't speak to a good marriage from that place. That's all I'm saying.
But we couldn't explain a good man or a good woman either. We still haven't done it, and it's the end of the program. From the start, we were talking about what was a good woman and a good man, and we still did not come down to a resolution of what is.
That's the way many of us are in the church, in there without a relationship with God, just like we had marriage with. Yeah, absolutely. Evangelist, thank you for that. Any other last thoughts? We're gonna wrap up. Go ahead, Sister Pastor Olivia.
Yeah, Marlene did inquire about our definition for a good man and a good woman. Unfortunately, a good man, what good is to you may be bad to me.
Exactly.
To me, and so we cannot provide a holistic definition for what is good. What we can say is that in your marriage, if certain requirement needs that you have are not fulfilled, then you have to assess that in your terms. Is this good to you, or are you going to tolerate it? Because some people would tolerate, and I think that's what Evangelist Mabia was saying. You have people who would tolerate their situation, not really embracing it, but that's all they know and they're comfortable. And in order to speak to a younger generation, they might be able to say, yes, I tolerate it, but they're not going to be able to educate them really about what marriage is.
Exactly what I'm saying. Thank you.
And I say this as my grandmother used to say, people live in their condition, old brooms, new broom sweep clean, but old broom knows corner. So they don't want to throw in an old broom for some new broom.
And they don't know how it sweeps.
People do what pleases them, and in all honesty, there's always a template that we can follow.
Exactly.
To construct ourselves. We may not have all the ingredients of what makes this, but pick the best out of that to make your life pleasing to your spouse and to God. And so that's how I encourage people. Yeah.
For these discussions, that's it. Because where we're all coming from, we like statements that like, I like what Canute always say, let me stir the pot. We like statements that kind of keep it, it's okay. They're okay with that. So that's what's been killing the church all these years, because anything that makes us think or makes us uncomfortable, we don't want to talk about it. So we say, oh, if that's what makes them happy. No, that's not. What about what makes somebody happy? We're talking about a church on a whole. We're not talking about what I like, what you like. We're talking about what is healthy, what is right. And yes, we're not always going to get it right, but not because somebody compromised or they're used to it, don't make it right, because you need to pass on to the generation coming up that it was not okay. That maybe it was okay for them because that's all they knew, but it was not okay. And we need to stop making these statements in churches and make it look like you yourself talked about how the church, what the church did when you were getting married. And we need to get away from that. It may have been comfortable for them. That's what they knew, but that don't mean it is right. And we need to stop accepting it simply because it was okay for them. It's not okay, period. So we need to just look at that. Not because if a man is beating me and I'm saying, well, him love me, it's not right.
No, we're not talking about abuse.
No, I'm using that excuse, Marlene. I'm not saying that's the case. But we need to stop accepting these things and say, well, if it makes them happy, that is not what marriage is.
So, Marlene, probably for the next couple of minutes, we should tell what's a good marriage then.
We should move on to this generation. Yes, that's what
we should do then.
This is what we've been talking about to prevent those things from happening again. We don't know all the right answers.
Marlene, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
You don't
yes,
know all the
yes.
right answers, but we're talking about things to prevent some of these things from repeating themselves. That's all. I don't think
You want to
nobody
know
has,
what a good marriage is? A good marriage is pleasing God, pleasing your spouse, vice versa. The man pleasing the woman pleasing, whatever the capacity is, that's a good
Whatever
marriage.
the capacity.
Whenever you are happy and the other person is happy and God is praised through your lifestyle, that is a good marriage.
Amen.
any last closing statements?
Well, I want to say I enjoy this moment. I use the word chit chatting, and somebody told me the other day not to chit chat. That's all right. I'm gonna be me. For the nice banter that we had tonight. The variance of thoughts and thought processes that we have, and agreeing or disagreeing to agree in any capacity, not always agreeing with everything that is said, but be amicable enough to talk and to share and be respectable in the same capacity. I applaud Evangelist Marvia for allowing us to use this platform to share and to encourage the body of Christ at large. One of the things that we have to be mindful about, Facebook is broadcasting this thing all over the world. So we're not just regular people. We are God's vessels that is trying to bring some form of solace, some form of peace and serenity to the lives of those who are going through turmoil, or those who have not gone into turmoil as yet, or those who are coming out of it. And so I applaud you for this platform. I want to honor all the guests tonight, and I just want to praise God for all of you. And as we go about in our deportment day after day, let God be pleased in our lives and in our walk as we live this challenging life in these challenging times. So we just got to keep praying for each other and loving each other and share the goodness of God. And as we go about, God bless all of you, and thank God for this medium.
Any closing comments, Pastor Olivia?
Yeah, I'm grateful that this platform is out there, and I would encourage listeners, you have topics and subjects that you'd like to know, just put it in the chat and we will group them up together and find some answers. We may not know everything, but at least we could shed some insight or some oversight or some foresight on some issues that you have and give you directions. God bless you. Tune in again with us next week.
Anybody else with any closing statements before we go?
I just want to thank Evangelist Marvia for providing this great, awesome platform for us to basically express our experiences and share the lessons that we have learned. We're not perfect, but through Jesus Christ, we are overcomers, and we're learning daily. We've been iron sharpening iron. We all don't have none of us have the answers individually, but together we can formulate almost a precedent for what we can do. And it's up to the individuals to embrace it or not to embrace it. There's no one size fit all, but there's some general things that we ought to look for in choosing a spouse. And this has been very informative, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. Glad to have met you, Bishop Thomas Roberts, and Canute, Mr. Ellis. Thank you so very much, Evangelist Providence. God bless you.
Bless you, Canute.
Well, must say,
Him not ready, Nali.
I mean, none of us have it figured out. None of us. Just like Olivia said, it's a work in progress. Marriages don't work. I love that you said it. I think it was last week. Marriages don't work. You have to work the marriage. And I think that's a great mantra or a great thing to look at. I don't have it figured out, and so the views I've shared are some are not just thoughts, but it's things that you wonder if somebody would have this question or have this thing. So I would kind of poke the bear or stir the pot, as I said today. My goal for coming on here is really to start the conversation and shed light not just on marriages but on individuals, that you really need to find yourself, going into any relationship, whether it's a business relationship or courting or dating, you really have to know yourself, what you bring to the table. And going into a date is not just to go to the latest restaurant or just find a money and go Devon House and palav and then feel like you had a good time and then you really connected with this person, but really trying to see who you are and who you need to be for the person who you're looking for, and vice versa. And obviously in courting, to really dig deep into finances, communication, sex, and so many other conversations you need to have before that big wedding day. And on that big wedding day, that's not it. There's work to be done. You have to work towards it, whether it's having all the full utensils, salad, fork, soup, cutlery, knife and fork, whatever it is. Get up and peel banana every day for your spouse, whatever it takes for you to continue to be in love and loving and respecting that person. Be sure that you're working towards that in your marriage. And even if you do all of that and it still don't work, there is still you, and you'll find yourself, as in the case of myself, I found, and it you still can love again, and you still can go on, and you still can be the best version of yourself. That's my goal, and I hope I've achieved that with my questions, with my comments, with my statements. Maria, thank you so much again for having me. It means I'm what like a quatty. If you can call me again, and that's good. And thank you so much for allowing us to tell our truth, as it's your mantra of your program. And I feel like it's really hitting home and freeing people and allowing people to express themselves in the chat. So thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Thank you, my teammates, my brethren, them. Thank you so much. It was great meeting you guys online and continuing this, and loving the discussion. And big up to everybody in the chat. Where I tell me to behave myself. I have behaved myself today, so thank you. All right.
Well, like I've said, this platform is pretty much to bring awareness. We don't have solutions to everything. This platform mostly speaks from experience. That's why I call Real2Real. So if you haven't really lived it, sometimes there's not much you can do but sit and learn. So this is, I believe that we've been told. A lot of times we're in a place where you're told what to do, and most times you don't really find out for yourself. So and many times as leaders, it's presented to us like they have all the answers, and most times they're struggling themselves. So we need to find a platform where we can see that leaders are real too. They go through struggles and problems, and the idea of Real2Real is to bridge that gap between the pulpit and the pew, so that when the world comes with their issues, we can deal with it. So pretty much that's what Real2Real is about, and to look at subjects that we've been looking at, running away from, because it's not, not church, but there are people that will come into the church who have these real issues, and we have to have answers for them. So, that's really pretty much this platform is about. People telling their truth, whatever, no matter how ugly it may seem, is their truth, and how they've walked through it, and how they've learned from it, and how they've grown from it. And so they can speak from that place and share some of what they've learned. So I thank you all for coming on. I really appreciate you giving me your time, because I know and it's very rare to find people that would just come out and speak, even though it's a bit uncomfortable. And you all know me. It's I like listen. If you can, we have to walk what we talk. Is about time, and it's just hiding behind the Bible and the quotes and I'll pray for you and all of that. And when really God needs you and I to work through these things, to walk through it with the individuals. That's what that's what it's about. So I thank you for your time. Great conversation. I don't know what else there is to talk about. You guys can let me know if there's other areas of this, but I want to talk about things that really can help people get out of their struggles. And sometimes they just don't want to talk about it. They're struggling. And I believe this is a great help to so many. So God bless you. And like I said, if you have any other ideas where we need to go deeper in this, but as it is right now, I think that's it, unless you have something more to say. But thank you again, and God bless you for your time.
So I see.
Huh? What are you doing?
It's your PayPal information. I'm pointing on the PayPal information.
He's saying so.
If you desire to sow, it's there. Yeah. God bless you again and come. Thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed this. All right. God bless you. Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Great stuff.
You're still on live, you know.
Yeah, great stuff.
I'm going to play. I'm going to close with this last. And guys, I'm on again tomorrow. Tomorrow night. We have another. Very, very exciting topic next tomorrow. So please share. Tomorrow we have a woman of God who's coming on to share her testimony. Oh my God, I don't think there's anything she has not been through. Been to jail, homosexuality, prostitution. She talked about the gentleman that brought her into the church is the one that used her for his own little so bedmate with promise of marriage. So please come on out tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. So looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow again. We've been doubling up for the last couple months, so as the Lord leads, but it's we may try going back to Tuesday for all episodes. We'll see how it goes. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on tonight. Love you guys. And until tomorrow. Until tomorrow.
They'll try to limit what you can do, cause they don't really understand you. Cause for you, nobody can take you. No.
Don't run from the truth. I don't buy these. Keep stopping. I keep closing things. Anyways, God bless you guys until tomorrow.